On this week's show, spin-offs are coming, Victorian aliens are invading, and Horicon is scaring. Hello and welcome to the Fancy News Show from the Bottled Imp. My name is Ken Boyter and this is your weekly fix of fantasy yumminess. First up, the first official trailer for The Dark Tower can be seen right now. Based on the massively popular and best-selling Stephen King novels, the first glimpses of The Dark Tower can be seen on the YouTube, as you would imagine where it is. Directed by, and this is the first name of the show, so let's see how it goes. Directed by Nicolas Arcel. It looks easier to say than it actually is, I guess. Anyway, it's also starring Matthew, and I get this guy's name wrong as well, Matthew McConaughey. McGinnigan. Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, that's it. Idris Elba, Catherine Winnick and Tom Taylor. The Dark Tower has been a long time coming with years of development and studios working out exactly how they can bring all of this complexity to the big screen. The trailer does look outstanding. It's lots of good CGI. And, well, more importantly, the characterization. They have actually, looks like they've concentrated on the characters and their motivations and their actual personal stories rather than getting too carried away by the special effects. But obviously, it's a big budget film, so they're going to be there. It does look fantastic. And they have, you probably know this already, but they pushed the date back for the release. It is now the 4th of August this year. You can catch the trailer, as I say, on YouTube, or you can visit the Stephen King's official website, which is www.stephenking.com/darktower, and we will put the link in the description. Game of Thrones has a spin-off and sequels in the offing. Series 8 of HBO's massive success Game of Thrones, based on the fantasy series of books A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, won't be the last that we've seen on the screen for Westeros. In an unusual move by HBO, who don't normally go in for spin-offs and sequels, they have signed up 4 writers to develop new ideas for further adventures, and they are Max Boristin, who apparently wrote Kong Skull Island and Fox's Minority Report, Jane Goldman, who did Kingsman at the Secret Service, X-Men First Class, Brian Hegeland, if that's how you pronounce it, who did A Knight's Tale and LA Confidential, and LA Confidential is amazing. Look at that, we've even got our own special effects. LA Confidential. There's lots of, it's all about police. Anyway, Carly Wire, I think that's how you pronounce the name, and she wrote Mad Men, or was part of that team. Also known is that George R.R. Martin is on board, as well as the Game of Thrones showrunners, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. The spin-offs and sequels will explore the different time periods in Westeros, and possible one spin-off will be The Tales of Dunk and Egg, which is a series of short stories at the moment that Martin wrote that were based 90 years previous to the events that happen in the Game of Thrones. Now, we have done a review of those stories, and they've been released in a hardback edition at the moment. And the book is called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and that brings all those tales into one book. We have done a review of that, as I say, so you can check that out on our YouTube channel, and I will put the link in the description. And as yet, HBO have not given us a release date. They've not even given it to the production teams either, and the development teams. They're just saying, get on with it, we know it's going to be a hit. And they'll be right. The BBC have announced it's making a Victorian-era War of the Worlds. Oh yes. The series is to be 3 parts, and it's obviously based on the H.G. Wells novel The War of the Worlds. It is scheduled to go into production next spring, and unlike most modern adaptations, it's going to be set in the Victorian era. How cool is that? They're probably going to be sneaking in a bit of steampunk there, I would imagine, as well, hopefully. Screenwriter Peter Hartness has been given the honour of adapting the novel. Hartness adapted Susan Clarke's Victorian-era fantasy novel Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell for the BBC, as well as writing a handful of Doctor Who episodes. The project was first announced way back in 2015, and confirmation of the production comes only months after the book enters the public domain. so it's copyright free. So we're presumably going to see more and more War of the Worlds stuff happening. The novel follows an unnamed narrator as he watches a series of shooting stars, which turn out to be vast metal cylinders containing Martian invaders. Now, I've not actually read War of the Worlds. I don't actually think I've seen any films either or TV adaptations. So, which is kind of weird. I thought about this and I thought that's a bit of an admission. So I'm going to make up for that. I'm probably going to plough into the book. And I'm really looking forward to it. That was my last note about this. Hey, that was smooth. Anyway, next story. Horicon Part 3 is back to frighten and scare you once again. There will be various ghoulish goings-ons at this year's Horicon, and I can only think that they've put Part 3 into the title because it's the third year that they've been running this. Not entirely sure, it doesn't really explain it on the website. Anyway, activities are varied and they include scare play, costume competition, photo opportunities with the special guests, merchant stalls with obviously lots of horror goodies for you to buy, pop culture expert and vampire aficionado Sir Christopher Frayling, who will be giving a talk on the first 200 years of vampires. Now, I'm assuming it's not going to take 200 years for that talk, but yeah, that sounds massively interesting. And this year's special guests are Sid Haig of The Devil's Reject, Cassandra Peterson, who was Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Yes, Elvira. Linda Hayden, Hammer House of Horror. Tom Matthews, Return of the Living Dead. Heather Lankenkamp, Nightmare on Elm Street, famous for her screams apparently. John Jarrett of Wolf Creek, plus a whole host more. There'll also be a Q&A session with special guests as well. And all the horror fun takes place between the 13th and 14th of May at the Magna Science Adventure Centre in Rotherham, England. You can find out more and to get your tickets by visiting horiconuk.com. MCM London Comic-Con is celebrating another year of geek culture. Billed as the UK's largest Comic-Con, the MCM London Comic-Con boasts a mass of special guests, activities and things to do over the 3-day event, which are pretty much all aspects of pop culture, such as movies, gaming, comics, anime, television, gadgets, clothing and toys as well. Special guests include Billy Piper of Doctor Who fame, Sam Jones, Flash, who was Flash Gordon in the film, Verone Troyer, Austin Powers and Harry Potter, and Lou Ferrigno, if that's how you pronounce it, who is the original Incredible Hulk in the TV show. Painted him green and stuff like that. I've got a story about myself painting myself green, but anyway, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Plus, there's many more special guests. Activities include the Comic Village, cosplay and masquerade, video games, special guests, obviously. The Iron Throne photo opportunity. Yes, they bring the Iron Throne, you can sit on it and they take a picture of you. Various steampunk activities, merchant stalls with lots of pop culture goodies, plus lots more. For your fix of pop culture, it all takes place on the 26th to the 28th of May at the ExCeL Centre, Royal Victorian Dock in London, UK. And you can find out more and to get your tickets by going to mcmcomiccon.com/London. Kickstarter news. Sorry, are we boring you there, Julian? He just yawned. How rude. Well, he's actually doing better. He's actually behind the camera this time. Normally he goes over there and just stands a cup of coffee. Doesn't even listen. Anyway, Kickstarter news. Zelda Cinematica is a symphonic tribute album reimagining of the music of the Legend of Zelda video games. Zelda Cinematica is, and I quote, this is from their page, an album with a primarily energetic symphony sound, but ranging across ambient soundscapes and electronic atmospheres as well. Not quite sure what that means, but I have listened to some of it and it does sound fantastic. There's over an hour of uniquely realised music from what is amongst the most iconic video gaming soundtracks composed and played by Sam Dillard, who has over 20 years of music composition in his belt. There are previous projects that he's done which were all part of similar things from other video games as well. And the album features fully legalised music with the royalties being sent to the original creators, which I think is very good, obviously, and it's going to be widely available on major digital music platforms. There's going to be the digital version, obviously the CD and the vinyl. There's a there's a pledge level where you can get the vinyl version. and there are various stretch goals as well. It has smashed its target, and it finishes on the 18th of May. Shock Value Giallo, if that's how you pronounce it, is a comic horror anthology from Hellbound Media. The horror anthology takes inspiration from the classic Italian films and features a selection of the best artists around the world, apparently. I don't know why somebody can say something's the best. I don't know. Anyway, that's a debate for a different day. Anyway, Giallo is the Italian for yellow, and it both refers to the pulp crime novels that often feature the jackets of that colour, plus the films that inspired the pulp novels, such as Profondo Rosso, which apparently means deep red, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Timbre, and Susprina. Honestly, I'm terrible at reading. Anyway, Hellbound Media is an independent British-based comic company founded and run by Mark Adams and Matt Warner. Previous works from the Hellbound Media include Ghastly Award-nominated horror comic The Disease, and also the Shock Value is the latest in the Shock Value anthology, so they've got a series of these Shock Value ones. The book will be a 72-page black and white perfect bound book, and it's available in the digital format as you would expect. It's already funded, and it finishes on the 14th of May. Cthulhu is a Cthulhu-inspired, soft and cuddly dice bag from Wayward Masquerade. I love this idea. Cthulhu is made from super soft micro fleece or plush, and it stands 20 centimetres, that's 8 inches tall, and you flip back its head, apparently, to reveal the dice bag belly with a double drawstring closure. That's very important. The bag is big enough to hold 100 standard dice in there, in his belly, and it does look so cute. So if you're into RPGs and you've got 100 dice, you can fit them all into his belly. There are lots of pledge levels, stretch goals, and add-ons as well that you can go for. It's nearly funded, and the campaign finishes on the 31st of May. Bottled Imp news. Thank you so much for all of you that came to the Harlow Comic-Con on Sunday to buy my book, and I signed it for you and said hello. Thanks for just popping by and saying hello. We had a good time. There's lots of people there. It was well worth going. First time they've done that in Harlow in Hertfordshire. There's not really too many of these that happen in Hertfordshire, and apparently there was about 800 or 900 people attended, so that's not bad for the first time. That's pretty good. And yeah, it was good fun. So thank you very much. And what else? Oh yes, I'm going to tell you about this week's Friday Fancy Show. We are going to be taking a look at HBO's second series of Game of Thrones. Yes, we did series 1 a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to plough on with series 2. Obviously, it's all based on George R.R. Martin's series of novels, so check that out this Friday. But that's all we have time for, so thank you so much for watching. Remember, we do have a Facebook group, so go check that out, the Fellowship. The Bottled Imp Fellowship. So click the join button and we will add you in. Until next time, fellow imps, remember to keep it unreal, especially if you are an alien invader.